Jennifer Warren, and following Ms. Warren, it will be Federal Reserve Brown.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Warren, and I'm a concerned citizen and a resident of Maui. And one of the main reasons why I feel the labeling is very important is that today's wonder often turns into tomorrow's toxin. I've lived in many situations and environments where one thing that was supposed to be very good 20 years later was discovered to be a serious cause of cancer. I lived near, in Texas, I lived near places where there was much pollution, where it was not only overlooked but encouraged by the government, and the citizens often had to fight in order for their right to not be poisoned by the corporations. I feel this is a similar issue, but this is spanning both nations. It's international at this point, and truly we are standing up supposedly as a leader in the world when the rest of the world sees fit to inform their citizens, but our country does not see fit to inform us. I can only conclude there's some reason that we are being obstructed from being shown so we have a choice, so we can choose not to buy genetically modified ingredients. These have not been tested properly. They've been put through the FDA under the, I believe the term is where it's something where it's the doctrine of similars, where it's so similar they just assume it doesn't have to be tested. And that's absurd considering the sophistication of our technology and what we now are able to do. So to not give us the right by choosing to not label our food, and as many of the other citizens have expressed, we don't have the right to actually enter into a dialogue, which is the foundation of democracy. So I'm asking for you guys to help us really create a thriving democracy by allowing us to have the choice to discuss what's in our food and to not simply be told by corporations, or not even told, to have the corporations put fancy packaging and bright colors and words that sound good but are actually hiding the fact that this could very well be the toxin that in 20 years we discover is what disrupts the entire food chain from the soil all the way up to our children. So please be in favor of labeling. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. Any questions for the lady this morning? Thank you for your thoughts, Ms. Warren. Okay, we have Mr. Brown coming up, and after Mr. Brown we have Kobayashi.
Well, my name's Federal Reserve Brown. I'm a head of the Dioxin Investigation Network for the North American end of the Dioxin Investigation Network. I seem quite amazed to the degree of which the Maui County Council has been willing to remain uninformed. It's almost like an intentional form of ignorance. I think that you all do know what Monsanto's been up to. You know what Monsanto did to Vietnam veterans knowingly for 7 years, yet you give them harbor and Kihei and allow them to set up shop. You know that they're a controversial issue. They cause a lot of stress and grief in the community, yet you refuse to do anything about them. For your information, the genetically modified corn with the skull and crossbones on it that's growing out around Kihei has now been declared illegal in Hungary. And the country of Hungary has dispatched their army to go out and burn down any cornfields and mow them under. And next month it becomes a felony to possess genetically modified corn in Hungary. I find out yesterday that the country of India is now suing Monsanto because the genetically modified eggplant, a honeybee or a fly or some sort of thing, has gone down and contaminated all their natural eggplants. So they're not able to have eggplant without Roundup in it. Now, I made the video Informed Consent Rock that says, you know, just take note, and then it shows U.S. troops escorting people from the Nuremberg trials right out the back door to the galley where we hung their ass. And what I meant by that video, when it says you, the Maui County, take note, is you're doing precisely to the public of the Maui what those Nazis were doing to those Jews. You are doing exactly, by enabling Monsanto to experiment on all of us, exactly what those U.S. troops hung those criminals for out the backyard of the Nuremberg trials. By poisoning us. Every country in Europe has demanded that this GMO labeling takes place so people can make an informed choice, and you have given homage and shelter to one of the world's largest corporate criminals. It takes a minor amount of looking into Monsanto's past, and you only need to hang your heads in shame for allowing them to set up shop here and operate with their skull and crossbones for corn. Can I ask anyone here, could you tell me how to grow a dangerous ear of corn?
You can give your testimony. You may not question the members at this
Well, I'm
point
questioning
of the
because
moment.
your inability to answer that question is posing a threat to all of our health. Keep that in mind. You're guilty of a crime. Right now.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Brown. Next we have Kobayashi. And then following Mr. Kobayashi will be Mr. Keith Rennie.
Hi, good morning. My name is
Morning.
Kobayashi. Thank you for your time, giving the opportunity to talk today. I'm a concerned citizen, and like a lot of Americans, I didn't know anything about GMO issues until recently. I remember maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I was in New York, and I used to work in finance. I was doing a little research into Monsanto's business model. I was like trucking along how their corporate strategy is good, this and that. But at the time, I knew nothing about the GMO issues. And it took Netflix, so I was kind of bored, and I had nothing to do. I was watching some documentaries on GMOs and all these issues. That I found out what all the concerns were. And talking to a lot of my friends, they have no idea. I mean, they've sort of heard of GMOs, but they don't really understand the potential consequences of GMOs. And that's kind of another topic, I guess, in terms of this legislation, but at least it gives the chance for people to know that it's a GMO. In Japan, they don't even grow GMO crops. I mean, the stuff still gets through because the U.S. pushing to them, but is our fundamental right. It is unconscionable that people wouldn't have the right to know. It's amazing in the U.S. where we have so many rights. We're a leader in so many things, social issues. But in this issue, we're really, really behind. And it'd be really amazing if Maui and Hawaii became a beacon of light in terms of this issue. So that's what I have to say today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kobayashi. Next is Mr. Keith Rennie. Rennie. Thank you, I'm sorry. And he will be followed by Mr. Darren Mann.
Good morning. My name is Keith Rennie. Hawaii has become a petri dish for biotechnology, a questionable practice that overrides nature's intelligence and replaces it with arrogant human meddling and wholesale poisoning of the soil. Rather than work with a rich network of indigenous microorganisms to grow nutritionally dense food, the companies that profit from GMO food production apparently have no regard for the health of the soil or the people. Their claim to fame is tolerance to poison, forgetting that we are not poison tolerant. GMO companies pour money into our universities and institutions so that the institutions turn a blind eye to this practice of crippling nature's intelligence and providing their own poisons and chemical fertilizers for the profits of the few. We are currently faced with a dramatic need to embrace the kind of changes that relinks us to our ancestral values. The consumer economy, an economy that requires people to be separated from the values of their ancestors, from each other, from their own bodies, from their own right to choose what they eat, what they grow, how they live, is collapsing before our eyes because it is not sustainable. GMO companies have exploited a 1980 Supreme Court decision to reverse the previous moral imperative to never patent life. The vote that made that decision law was provided by Monsanto's legal counsel, Clarence Thomas, the poster child of conflict of interest. What is being presented as the only way to feed Earth's 7 billion people is a lie, funded and fueled by life science companies that are actually death science laboratories, churning out weaponized chemicals and poisons that now are intimately aligned with the globalist agenda of population control through the weaponization of the food we eat. The agenda that has used the revolving door of lobbyists, politicians, and those who would prostitute themselves for personal gain to suppress consumer knowledge, eliminate choice, and place profits over people. Destroying the environment with poison to grow poison-resistant food that poisons the people and the planet is patently insane. Unfortunately, humans will choose insane solutions when vital information is suppressed. When a cow is given a choice between GM corn and natural corn, she chooses natural, just like an informed human. When a mother sees her baby underneath a car tire, she just doesn't think that's too big to move. She moves it. She taps into strength beyond herself, the strength of future generations. I challenge this council and this policy committee to find that mother's strength and courage, the strength of future generations, to lift the weight of conflict of interest and give your family and mine the dignity of choice and the determination of our personal health via the foods we eat. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your thoughts this morning. Any questions for the gentleman?